Hi guys, welcome to DevXP channel. My name is Seth Samuel, and today we'll be talking about something very interesting, which is why is it that me as a React developer, I chose to use Flutter over React Native. Now, mind you, I said me as a, which means I am still a React developer. I've not still changed. I still write React a lot, almost every day. But why is it that I chose Flutter instead of React Native? Because what you notice out there is most of the advice that people give out there is, oh, if you're a React developer, choose React Native, and if you're a Flutter developer, if you're not a React developer, then you can choose any other language that you want. You can choose any of the two that you want. But for me, that advice is not very solid because React uses a programming paradigm, right? And that program paradigm is called reactive programming. And it's not just React, Svelte, Vue, Flutter, Swift UI, all of them use that same paradigm. So if you can write one of them, you find yourself right at home with any of them. Why? Because they're all reactive programs. You all use the same paradigm. So me, what I would say is, if you have ever written code in the reactive paradigm, so maybe if you're coming from something like PHP or maybe Django or something, that's when I would say you will not understand what is really going on. But if you are coming from any of this, you feel right at home because they are all using the same paradigm. So, and one of the statements that differentiate the two technologies for me is React is built to enable you, whereas Flutter is built to help you. Now, in the course of this video, you see different ways of me trying to explain how this plays out. Okay, the next thing I want to clarify is, in the course of the video, you also hear me using the word React and React Native interchangeably. So whenever you hear me using React, except if I explicitly and state that I'm talking about the technology, just know that I'm talking about React Native. Okay, so let's get right into it. So now let's look at this widget, right? Now, this is called a list builder, right? A list view builder. And the basic idea behind it is very simple. Now, if you've ever built something like Twitter, right, with React, you quickly run into a problem, which is you have a lot of components rendering at the same time. So say for example, now if you're using something like if you build something like that, you have like a list of posts, right? A list of tweets, like in an array or something, and then you have a component that display them. Now, and then as you scroll through the app, like as you scroll through the feed, more posts are coming, right? We all know how those work. Now, one of the cool things about Twitter is when you like something, it starts giving like interval count of how many people like that thing. So the thing updates over time. And building something like that requires a lot of work, because imagine you have, let's say, 50 tweets, right? And then you're trying to render them. Each card of the tweet is a complex widget on its own. It's a complex component on its own. So sorry, let me just even also clarify this. I'll be using the word I may be confusing the word widgets and components. So pardon me whenever you see me making that mistake. So imagine building something like that, right? Each component is complex on its own, right? And you are building 50 of them, because as you scroll, you could maybe, like, let's say for example, the first page may give you 10 tweets. Then as you scroll down, the next page 2 will give you like 10 more, which is picking 20, then 30, then 40, then 50, and then stack them up into each other. Now in React, all of those components are still in memory. All of them are built, and imagine liking all of the 50, which means all of them at certain intervals, maybe like 3 seconds or something, they're all rebuilding. I know how rebuild works in React. It destroys the whole component. It destroys the whole component here, and then rebuilds it from scratch again. That's how rendering works, right? Now imagine that you're destroying all of those 50 components at different intervals, just to show them, just to show the current count, or something changes and they're destroying the whole thing. Now you have to do it for the whole 50 at the same time. So with time you discover that your app begins to slow down gradually. The more components you have loaded into the app, into the feed, the slower your app gets. And I know that there's a way around that. I know there's a library out there. I have not used the library, but I know that there's a library out there that addresses it. But the problem now is you have to know that that problem exists, whereby you get to a certain point and your component gets too complex. Because usually in testing, you will not have 50 posts to try. So usually you just do your normal thing and then you send it to production, and then later people can start complaining that the app is slowing down as you use it. That's because you're rendering too many components. Now Flutter has a solution for that. You don't need a library for that. Out of the box, Flutter has a solution for that. So that's what this list builder does. So how this list builder works is that it shows you like a viewport, right? And then it shows a very few components both up and down the viewport. So say this is the viewport, right? Let's say this is the viewport, right? So it can show the current components in the viewport. That's one. Then you can show like two more components up, two more components down. And what that does is that it makes sure that there are only 5 widgets that your feed widget gets to handle. So it doesn't care whether there are 1 million widgets above and below. It doesn't care, and it doesn't matter. All that matters is just the widgets that are close to the viewpoints, and that's the ones that get rendered. The remaining are not rendered until when you get close to them. And because of that, you discover that Flutter runs very well, very smoothly, no matter how big your widget tree is. It still runs smoothly because it shows only a very little amount of them. I'll be leaving a link to a video that I saw that talks about this in depth, and you see that what I'm saying in action of how Flutter optimizes for that out of the box. But that React and React Native, we don't get that out of the box. So you have to figure out how to do it, or a library that can help you do it. All of which is not ideal, especially for developers and other experience with all of these problems. Now the next thing that you see is one of the cool components again is the list builder component, and this basically collects a feature, and then you can show whether if it has a data, it shows the data. If it has an error, it shows the error, and if not, it just shows the progress indicator. Now this is a very simple thing, right? But React Native doesn't give you this out of the box. With React Native now, you have to build your own from scratch, right? And if you watch our video about abstraction, you discover that we talked about something like this, how to abstract something like this and build your own. But the thing is, it doesn't come out of the box. So you have to know how to do this. If you don't know, or with another experience, you have to build this over and over and over and over again for all of your projects. That's the loading, the data, and the error. You have to do it for all of your components, which is not ideal. And watch that video please to know why that is not ideal. And I can continue like this over and over again to see how Flutter is designed to help you. Like there's a lot of things that Flutter just gives you out of the box and you don't have to worry about. There's even animations, right? So let's say for example you want to render something based on a certain property. So I have not implemented this. So you can just change the opacity of something just like this, and this is an animation. This is a perfectly working animation. So if the animation is 1, it shows this component. If it's not, then it shows 0. If it's 0, then the component disappears. This is an animated component, and I'm not using any library for this. This comes in with Flutter, and there are a lot of this that comes built into Flutter. And then you can also create your own complex animation with Flutter, and you can even create even more complex animations with something like Rife, which gives you like the power to create really complex animation. But if all of these options are not enough for you, you can even easily bring your 3D projects straight from Blender and drop it into Flutter, and believe you me, Flutter will handle it for you. That's how crazy Flutter animations are. But yes, you can also do that with React Native, but it requires a lot of workaround. So you discover that Flutter has a lot of quality of life features, right? That just helps you write better code that improve your productivity and stuff. Whereas with React is bring your own everything. So even routing, React doesn't have a way of routing. Both React and React Native, like out of the box, none of them have a way of routing. So you discover that if you want to route now, you're arguing between using either React router or React Native router, or you're using something like Expo. And if you're using Expo, which one should you use? Should you use the file-based routing of Expo router, or you should use the component-based routing? So it's kind of indecisions back and forth that React just allows you to just do. While that is a good thing in such a way that because it allows React to be really flexible, it can also be a very bad thing because it creates indecision and a rift between developers. With Flutter, there's a way of navigating, whether you like it or not. That's how you are going to navigate in Flutter. It doesn't care. And the same thing with Android and basically native development. They are very opinionated, whereas React Native is not opinionated in any way. Now, the next thing that we're going to talk about is the language itself, which is the next barrier. Now, most people will tell you you should learn React Native because if you know how to write TypeScript and JavaScript, you're already good to go. But now I'll ask those same people, right? Look at this code, look at this function, and tell me you don't know what it is and what it does. I mean, it's direct. That is not like Rust. I know it's Rust that is really complicated. You cannot just pick up Rust in a short time. You have to like go through a lot of hoops to learn Rust. But with that is very simple, straightforward to learn. It resembles JavaScript a lot. So if you know how to write JavaScript, especially if you know how to write TypeScript, you feel right at home. If you're not coming from TypeScript, that's when you start having some kind of rift because of the type system. You don't know how to use types. JavaScript doesn't have types, so don't really know how to use it like that. But if you're coming from TypeScript, believe me, you feel right at home because that will resemble JavaScript a lot. So I don't think that it's a problem. Coming in the language barrier is a problem. It's a very easy something to pick up. Then the next thing that I'm going to talk about is the community. Yes. While in terms of size, I cannot sit down here and tell you that the Flutter community is as big as JavaScript community. That would be a lie. But one thing that I can tell you is that they are some of the most passionate developers they're some of the most passionate developers. Now, I've never in my life, whether online or offline, have seen a Dart developer that hates Flutter or a Flutter developer that is indifferent about Flutter. They're usually very passionate about Flutter. Like if I'm a Dart developer and I've been writing Flutter for years, for more than 3 years, and all person if you ask me what's that one now to improve in Flutter, I have zero idea. It's that good. I love it that much. And you can hear the same story over and over among Flutter developers. The fact that they love it so much that they don't see anything wrong with it. But if you ask me why do I want to change in React, I have a lot of ideas. First of all, be opinionated. That's what I would say. So, while we are not that many, we are very, very passionate about Flutter. So you always feel that kind of community. It's very easy for you to just see a Flutter developer and connect with that person than see JavaScript developer and connect with that person. Another thing is that we have community events, right? Apart from like the normal Google events, like Google I/O, which has a dedicated section for Flutter, and then DevS, which also has dedicated sessions for Flutter. There is also Flutter Engage, which is a Google sponsored event for just Flutter. That one is just for Flutter. It's not like Flutter and other Google technologies. So the community is really big, and then you see a lot of events out there. But I don't think I've ever seen a community, a Facebook event for React or React Native. I don't think I've ever seen. I think it was before that they were doing it during the developer event, but I think now they have stopped. So there's always a sense of community with Flutter, right? Although we are not many, like I said, but we are passionate about it. So you always feel like you're part of the community. Now the next one that we want to talk about, is jobs. Now this is the contentious one. Many people will be like, yes, there are a lot of companies, there are more companies that uses React Native than Flutter, and I cannot even argue that. Anybody that argues that is just lying to you. Okay, so I cannot sit down here and tell you that Flutter has more job opportunities than React Native. That would be a lie, and anybody that will tell you that, at least for now, it's lying to you. But one thing that I can guarantee you is that Flutter is really growing. Flutter is really growing, and one advantage that React Native will always have over Flutter is it has the first mover advantage, because the whole mobile cross-platform development is started by Flutter, and I think it started by React Native, and I think React Native has 2 years head start over Flutter, and that will always give it the advantage over Flutter. But one thing I can guarantee is that, like I said, Flutter is gradually growing. It's growing, it's growing, and it's growing. So jobs is the most contentious part of the whole thing. And the reason why I say it's contentious is because it's relative, right? Many people will tell you one of the reasons that is pursuing them from Flutter, keeping them away from Flutter, is the fact that Flutter doesn't have as many jobs as React Native. And it's very true. Flutter doesn't have as much job as React Native. But I can tell you that Flutter jobs are really growing. And the second thing is, because it came out earlier, a lot of big companies have adopted it as their default language. And you know how companies are. Once a big company adopts a technology, the remaining small company just mindlessly follow it. And that's very true. That's out there. But one thing that I can tell you also is that Flutter is really growing. The support that Google is putting into Flutter is really massive, and I know at some point it will catch up with React Native. While that part is objective, but the reason why I will tell you that jobs is relative is, me, I'm a React developer and I like React Native, and I'm a Flutter developer, and I've applied to more React jobs than to Flutter jobs, but I've made way more money with Flutter than React Native. Like, I'm talking about significantly, order of magnitude, way more money than React and React Native combined, despite the fact that I've applied for more jobs in that field. Flutter jobs are just out there, whereas React Native jobs, I don't know how you people are getting yours. Maybe it's just me, but for me, it's not working that well for me. So that's the reason why I say that it's very relative. So I can't just say you can just base your life based on the experience of others. Others may find it very difficult to find React jobs. Others may not. So do your own research and explore. So I hope you find this video useful. And I hope you subscribe to the channel. Please help us grow. We are really trying to grow and reach 1,000 subscribers by the end of next month. So please help us. Let's see how we can make that happen. And please buy our merch. We are selling DevXP merch. I'll be leaving a link to the store in the description. Please do well to check out our merch, and they're really quality merch. I hope you have found this video useful, and I hope these few points are able to convince you to just at least give Flutter a second look, and see for yourself whether it's something that is for you or it's not for you. And I will see you in the next one.